Okay, so I'll be talking about the invertebrates, very specifically in the cnidarian group, very specifically about the cannonball jellyfish. Now, the cannonball jellyfish has a couple of names. It is called the cannonball jellyfish, the cabbage head jellyfish, and the Stomolophus meliagnis, and I hope I pronounced that right. Now, like I said, it's part of the invertebrate group, which is animals that lack a backbone, so they have no true vertebral column. The cnidarians stemmed from the word snidos, which just means stinging needles, which you can kind of see how jellyfish relates to that group. And there are actually 4 different groups under the cnidarian group, which are the anthozoas. These have our true corals and our sea pens. Then there's the cubozoa that have the box jellies, the hydrozoa, which have fire corals and hydroids, and the scyphozoa, which have the true jellyfish, which are the ones where our friend belongs in, the cannonball jellyfish. Now, if you see the cannonball jellyfish, it kind of has a dome shape, which is why it's also called the cabbage head jellyfish, and a brown lining around the bottom, which is another way to distinguish it. As far as habitat, this species are in tropical environments, so they're found in aquatic environments by the beach. I actually found this specific one in the picture in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, a couple of weeks back, and actually it was just the cause of high tide. So the beach was filled with jellyfish in the shore, and I'm just there picking to see which one I want. So I did keep it, but my professor disposed of it, so I don't have it still. So these jellyfish, cannonball jellyfish, have radial symmetry, and they're also heterothermic, which means that their body temperature fluctuates with that of the environment around them. A lot of times this is because they have poor mechanism to regulate internal body temperatures, so they're just kind of everywhere in terms of that. They're also venomous, but they're not venomous to the point that they'll sting you and you'll die. A lot of people know that. The same issues that you can get from jellyfish sting is the same thing you can get from not running all your life or eating a poor diet, which is cardiac problems or just genetics. So it's nothing too crazy. They do have 16 short fused oral arms instead of actual tentacles, and they actually have mouth folds, which are called scapulates. So the scapulates are crowded with mucus, which helps them eat and trap small prey. They feed on fish eggs and larvae. So how they eat is they suckle the water into the spaces where the scapulates are, and then their ball contracts. And then they're able to indulge. So the life cycle of the jellyfish, cannonball jellyfish, starts with the planula larva. Now, in this stage is just a free-swimming, ciliated larva descend from the maternal cell, and this larva is going to continue to settle into the seafloor and attach itself into a hard surface and transforms into a polyp. So after it's a polyp, the polyp develops into colony members of polyps, which we call a budding polyp. So all these budding polyps are linked together by feeding groups or feeding tubes, and these feeding tubes can actually stay and grow together for several years. Now, when the polyp matures and the horizontal groups are formed and they keep deepening, the most mature layer will spring off and bud off as a baby jellyfish or an ephria or a young medusa. So once you have the young medusa, it's like teenage years, goes through adolescence, and then it matures and it becomes a full-on grown adult jellyfish. So as you can see, fertilization occurs outside the Stomolophus meliagris and actually reproduces sexually and asexually. Now, some interesting things about the cannonball jellyfish, aka cabbage head jellyfish, aka Stomolophus meliagris, is that these animals really don't live a long life. They probably live about 3 to 6 months before they die. However, in that little short span of time, and as you can see with many organisms that have a short lifespan, they reproduce many times. They have, a short stay, but they leave their mark. So yeah, they don't live very long. However, they're in growing demand, especially as food in Asia, because that they're just harvested to eat. But they're also the main food source of an animal that's going extinct, which is the leatherback turtle. So they do play an important role in our organism, and they're also just very cute.